Hey there, friends and viewers. This is Hengest with TGN.TV, and today I'm going to kick off something a little unique. Now, some of you may remember from a couple weeks back, I mentioned I was going to start a series which basically, for all intents and purposes, is directed at Blizzard to fix one of the classes in World of Warcraft, which I believe has been overpowered for a very long time. And of course, I'm talking about the Frost Mage, in particular for PvP. Now, a lot of people will vouch for the fact that PvP in World of Warcraft is balanced around 3v3 arenas, and although that may be true to a certain extent, my focus for this series will be how the class has been broken down gradually as Cataclysm has progressed, even more so than in the past. In a 1v1 scenario, battlegrounds, 2v2s, basically any scenario that isn't bound by basic arena strategies. And for this first episode, I'm just going to start off with a duel against a class that I believe that the Frost Mage neutralizes so very hard that it's not even excusable by Blizzard Entertainment. That is a Red Paladin. So without further ado, let's get into the duel. So it's been a little while since I made a dueling video. For those of you that haven't seen my time-lapse duel series, essentially, I like to slow things down and pause things to really talk about my strategy. In this particular one, we'll be focusing on the Frost Mage's abilities more so than the other opponents, because that's what the directive of this series is. So I challenged one of my guildmates to a standard duel right outside the Goldshire Inn here. And you'll notice right at the bat I get my shields up preemptively, both the Mana Shield and the Ice Barrier. And before combat actually begins, I launch a Flame Orb in his direction. Now, the reason for that is it's a really good practice against many classes that have stealth abilities, like a Feral Druid or a Rogue, any Druid for that matter. And also for combat locking people who may be looking to use abilities that are only usable outside of combat. And it's also great to just throw them off their guard. You know, it pushes back spellcasting to an extent. So I do that, and I always open up with my Pet Freeze ability right off the start, because it procs 2 stacks of my Fingers of Frost, which is going to allow me to both get off my Deep Freeze and start unloading some deadly burst damage. So there goes the Frost Nova from the pet, and you can see that Frostbolt critical on a frozen target is extreme. Ice Lance critical there as well. There I pull off my Deep Freeze with the intention of moving to the other side of the dueling area so I can distance myself as much as possible. Now, I just procced an Impact ability. That is a Fire Mage talent in the second tier, which I used very strategically to transition out of my Deep Freeze. As soon as the duration of the Deep Freeze expired, I hit him with that impact so that I can transition right into my burst damage abilities. This is my offensive cooldowns, indicated by my macro, I'm a fire in my laser. There we go. And so he's in deep shit right now. You'll notice that he just used his Avenging Wrath. He hasn't even been able to get up Inquisition because he hasn't been able to hit me with any attacks. And because I'm on my toes right now, I notice he uses his Avenging Wrath right there. And I'm just going to spell steal it as soon as possible. It doesn't give me the full duration of his buff, but it's more than enough bonus damage that I need to finish this fight much sooner than anticipated. So there, within less than a fraction of a second, I steal the Wings buff, and I'm back in position to start finishing this guy off. Now, he's immune to the rooting effect right there because of his Hand of Freedom, but you'll notice I'm placing an AoE targeting reticle from a distance in front of me, so most of you will be able to guess that, my friends, is Ring of Frost. I'm going to use this defensively here because I know I'm going to be attacked, probably Hammer of Justice. Didn't get stunned actually, and I blinked straight into my Ring of Frost. That's an insurance policy. I just managed to pull off a timely interrupt on a flash of light there. I don't want him healing at all. And at this point in the duel, it's pretty much over. Even if he does manage to close quarters on me, he'll be frozen by my Ring of Frost. And you can see he got finished off very hard there by some criticals. I believe that was a Ice Lance for almost 20,000 damage. Guys, I just wanted to show you that short duel. It wasn't super competitive. My opponent wasn't, a really high-end player or anything. But that's pretty standard how Frost Mage duels go. against melee classes. Paladins in particular are exceptionally vulnerable to frost mages, just because a lot of their defensive abilities are actual spell buffs. Some things like Hands of Freedom, Avenging Wrath, those can all be spells stolen by the mage, and it can also the paladin can also be interrupted very easily from spell steals or from counter spells and such. So I thought it was important to show that off. To kick this series off, I am working on a montage right now, just to show you scenarios where the Frost Mage is extremely potent and overpowered, that I think is important for other people to see, because number one, most of you don't even play Frost Mages, so you don't get the perspective of the mage. And number two, a lot of you think that Frost Mage PvP is simply Frostbolt and Ice Lance spam, and that certainly is not true. Hopefully this series will enlighten you as to why the spec is so very powerful against many others, and how it needs to be changed in the future. Now, after watching this video, a lot of you are going to call me out and say, Hengest, the nerfs are already on the way, 4.2 patch notes by Blizzard. I'm fully aware, guys. This is something I've been talking about on my personal channel for months. I know there's a cast time incoming to Ring of Frost, which is very needed, as well as a cooldown on Spell Steal. Now, let me just take a moment to... actually, I'll wrap the video up with a clip of me predicting the Spell Steal nerf. I honestly think they should just remove it from the game. And that will just leave you as a prelude into my next installment of this series, which will be somewhat of a montage in battlegrounds and arenas, 3v3s included. Alright guys, this has been Hengest with TGN.TV. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day. Bye bye. I think Spell Steal really needs to be kept in check at this point in the game. It's too powerful. The mage has so many survival capabilities already. For the mage to have something like that on top of, you know, being able to ice block and freeze people all over the place and counter spell, I don't agree with it. I think Spell Steal either needs to be removed from the game or changed drastically. You give it a large cooldown.